What's up, guys? My name is Vincent Runsing. Welcome back to my podcast, Not Your Average Desi Brown Girl. And, so welcome back to another episode. I'm absolutely in love with filming these, so it's gonna be really fun. Today's episode's gonna be really interesting, but I feel like it's a little bit different than the last episode. But this time, I guess we're not going down and dirty, but it's kind of interesting. So today we are going to be talking about, dating apps and how being single and the whole relationships love shit stuff. So I feel like because that's just not a prominent part of my life right now, but it's a decent prominent part of my life, so I guess it's okay to talk about. So if anyone does get weirded out by stuff like this, just to warn you, preference, a lot of dating stuff. But yeah, so let's talk about dating. So as anyone recalls, in the last episode I said something about an old former partner of mine. So if my former partner's listening, I do care about you, and it's just me having my whole face. Well, not really, but yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be it. So basically, let's talk about dating in college and how all this stuff works. It's so weird, and I still don't know how it works. And some interesting dating stories I have. We're gonna start out with that. So I'm brown, of course. I'm not allowed to date, but I do it anyways behind my parents' back. I don't recommend anyone doing it because you might get in trouble for it, but I somehow haven't gotten deep in trouble for it, but it's okay. I'm still gonna do it anyways. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. So I am not allowed to date, but I do it anyways. So we got that part down. So I never use dating apps. So there's only three main dating apps that I actually use. Was Hinge, which Hinge was pretty easy, so I knew how to use that. It was straightforward. There was Tinder and there was Bumble. And then this other app, I don't remember the exact name for it. It's called fucking Coffee and Bagel or Bagel and Coffee. I don't remember, but it was really funny. So let me tell you my experience on these dating apps. In college, most of the kids use fucking Tinder. I had never used Tinder before. Am I pro with Tinder now? Definitely fucking not. That's one thing. Bumble, I still don't know how to fucking use. It's so bad. With Coffee and Bagel is this weird app, but I'm pretty sure it's just for lesbians. Which I am a lesbian. I was looking for someone, but that app just never works. It does work, but I don't know. I never learned how to really actually use it because I tried for a bit and didn't work out. But I have a funny story for that one. So in college, dating in college is literally the question of 100 things. It's like, what in the absolute fuck? So now that if you're single in college and you use Tinder or Bumble or Hinge, you use a dating app. There are bound to be horror stories from it. But I think with dating apps, they don't hinder me, but it's really funny because it's like, oh, he looks so cute with the red flags, and they start texting you, and then you're like, oh my god. I think, my opinion, I think Tinder's average. Tinder's okay to use. Tinder's not so bad. Um, I would use Tinder out of all of them, Tinder and Hinge the most, because I actually know how to use those, but I just find it really funny because Hinge apparently is an app where you find the one, and then you delete it right after. So I'm proving right now, guys, that theory is proved. It's true. You find someone on you find someone fucking Hinge. You're gonna talk a lot, and then you move on to a different platform, texting or Instagram or something, and their Snapchat, and then you're set for God knows however long, and that's when nature takes over. Not nature. That's when the universe takes over, and the universe just glides you right fucking through it. And then with Tinder is just very funny because Tinder is hit and miss. It's literally the full-on definition of hit and miss. And dating on Instagram, when some dude asks you some weird shit, DMs you and you don't know the person, that's kind of weird. But just, keep in mind out for the red flags. Some of them are very creepy. But I would just say those two apps. It's really interesting dating in college. Because in college you date. And I go to a school where it's not very romantic-y, coupley, but it's okay. But dating in college is so much harder than dating. And I think dating is generally hard, but dating in college is much more different because then you're not really mature yet. I don't know if I'm not saying that all guys are mature, not all girls, but not girls. Not all guys, But like you would find the in college, girls are really not that easy to find, but it's just a really hard. It's an interesting time because you're just like I feel like I don't know if it's just me. I feel like I'm mature sometimes. I'm not mature at the same time. It's like holy fucking shit, am I mature? Um, no, for Christ's sake, I'm not mature. But it's very funny. It's so funny. It's just that weird gap because you're finally going into the real world and then you realize all the adulting shit you have to do, and it's like ugh. So I mean, dating in college is the questionable thing. Would I do it again? I don't know if I ever will. That's I don't think I ever will because I just find it very strange. Am I willing to get an arranged marriage? Fuck yes, because I just think that this it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of like mental energy to put in. You're just gonna be like, this guy, it's like you look good. Let me talk to you, and then you find out they're a fucking weird guy with peewee babies. No, that's not true. That's from my Carly. But you know, you find some weird shit out. So that's something for sure. And also, I think the whole awkward thing with using Tinder or Hinge or Bumble or any of these dating apps is the fact that these apps can connect you to your school. So I did that because I thought it'd be really fun to see how many matches I would get. And it was funny because I was like, okay, let's see. And then I see a ton of these people, and some of them I recognize, some I wouldn't. So like you match with this person and then you're walking around campus and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna grab some Starbucks for class because some like campuses have that stuff. So I just walk by and I get something and I see the guy who I matched with and I'm like, holy fucking shit. And I think it's kind of slightly embarrassing because then online and in person you're a completely different human being. Like you're not the same. Um, but it's really like interesting because you're not the same person. No, but yeah, that's just the funniest thing ever. Because I feel like with dating apps, it's like rolling the dice, and then the dice being like snakes instead of like a number two. But it's really funny. I think let's start to talk about a little bit of the weirdest, um, stories I've had on dating apps, because I feel like it's gonna be really interesting. So, just to preface this, I did not start going on dating apps until October because I've never really did it. I've never really done it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm my real person in real life. Because at that point, I love being single for a little bit. Great. And then I eventually started going on these dating apps, which it's not so bad. Not so bad because sometimes some guys are good, some guys are bad. You'll never really fucking know. It's like rolling the dice. But I think the funniest thing that I've ever had to experience was when I was, I think, it's like I'm humbled. This has just literally humbled my experience of dating apps. I would think, oh, I'm going to meet my soulmate in front of me, not on a dating app, because it's kind of weird. Because then if you like, I don't know, I like in person over online dating, like a speed round dating kind of thing, or like a blind date. Obviously, blind dates kind of suck, but I've grown fond of those blind dates. But it's also something. I remember first started for a little bit. It was Hinge for a little bit, and then my friends. So funny story. Me and my friend, we both got broken up on the same day, but hours later. So I was like, okay, great, let's do this fucking dating app. So I'm sitting in her dorm. So we're just sitting there. So she dorms, and so I'm sitting in the dorm, and we're like looking. I'm like, would this picture cute on my fucking Tinder profile? She's like, yeah, it would look cute. So we're swiping through profiles. We're seeing people. So because I used Hinge, and Hinge kind of failed me. Hinge actually failed me because I tried different things. I was like, random. Great, I got all great, and then I like narrowed my search down to like a couple different people. So I was like, okay, we narrow it down. What's the worst thing that could happen? Um, and I got two people off that, which was like so cool. At the same time, I was like, okay, great. So I started talking to them a little bit more. It's still like talking phase. Was not very interested. They were kind of weird. They're like, oh, what do you want to look into for? I was like, I don't know, something casual. And it was kind of just boring, dead. And I was like, oh, great. I guess I just wasted my time with you. And, 'cause I mean, I was interested in the guy, but, like, it was so, like, freaking, uh, it's kind of like, holy fucking Christ, like, this dude's the weirdest shitting moron I've ever seen. No, it's not weird, but I just found it, like, really completely strange. Like, I literally talked to a bunch of guys on Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble, and Coffee and Bagel. So Coffee and Bagel was my third choice because on Tinder I wasn't in that many matches, and it was like so boring. It was like, okay, you go to school here, you do this. That's great. It was kind of boring. And then I did coffee and bagel. And this is where my first story starts out. So I used coffee and bagel, and I set everything up because it's like you get bagels and you get coffee together. So I never understood the point of the app. But I remember specifically when this happened, I was like, okay, great. This is a cute guy. So I'm not going to say names, but I don't remember his name. He didn't have a really name. He just put his initial as his name. And we were talking, like, he's like, oh my god, I'm loving your vibe already. Great. He starts we start, like, so he's like, here's my number. So I don't remember if I gave my number or anything like that. So we're talking. And then we're like, oh yeah, let's meet up for coffee. So I was like, okay, great. That sounds fun. That does sound fun to meet up for coffee. So we meet. So we're talking a lot. He's like, oh, I gotta reschedule my cards in the shop. And I'm like, so I'm just saying excuse after fucking excuse. And then we agreed to meet up at this coffee shop 2 weeks later, so we can get coffee together because everyone likes coffee. I mean, I don't know. There's some people who don't like coffee, but I just like coffee. But there's some people who don't like coffee, and that's okay. No judgment. I'm a judgment-free judgment-free zone, bitch. So let's get coffee. So it's around 11. We said we would meet around 11:30. So I was like, okay. He'd let me know when he get there. So I'm there. I show up to the coffee place. I even brought my books with me and my like. It's a really cute study. It's a really cute coffee shop where you can study at. So I brought my stuff with me just in case this guy would bail. This is a backup because sometimes these are sketchy guys. They're sketchy guys. And I was like, okay, great. So I show up, and then I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey. He like 30 minutes later. I was like, oh yeah, I'll let you know when I get there. I like, okay, can't wait to see you. And then 30 minutes later, I like called like 7 times. I leave like 3 messages. I'm like, cause I call and I leave a message. So actually, let me rephrase that. I called like twice and left a message like, hey, I'm inside. I never get the directions wrong or something. So I was hoping I would get a response back in less than an hour, 30 minutes. I got 0 fucking response. I got no response. So then I got like, you know what, fuck it. And I got like, that was one of my failed talking stages. It's really interesting. And it was the second guy from, this is Coffee and Bagel. So it's really interesting. Another one is like literally the fact that I trust Hinge. Hinge is like algorithm I fucking trust. So I matched this guy on Hinge. That's great. So I trust Hinge's algorithm so much. So, they're like, oh, they have the same likes and dislikes as you. I was like, oh, that's awesome, great. Let's see how this fucking match goes. And then we're talking a lot, and he's like, and he gave me his number. And he's like, oh, let's call tonight. I mean, I would go out, like, let's call. I'm like, okay, great. So I called this guy up. I don't remember his name. So this was when I narrowed. This was really nice of him. He was so nice, and like, I liked his vibe. So we're talking and we're flirting, and there's a little bit of sex talks in it. There's a little bit like teasing, a little like naughty stuff. But it doesn't go that far. We're just talking. And I immediately get a fucking creeper ass vibe from this dude. So I was absolutely like vividly confused. I'm like, why is Hinge fucking up? Why is Hinge's algorithm giving me a fucked up person? And I think that there's probably a reason behind it, but I'll never know the reason for that reason specifically, but I'll know. But I remember we were talking for a little bit, and he just really wanted stuff from me. So I really, like, you know what, Hinge failed me. Hinge really failed me. So this guy and I were talking, it was cool. It was getting kind of boring, and I lost interest in him. Because it was like, oh, well, you're not really that interesting. Blah, blah, blah. And then the next guy I meet on Hinge is, like, kind of like the same thing. But a little bit different, I would assume, but I can't say much about the difference. But basically, he's like, oh, this is my name. He's like, oh, so we decided to meet for drinks. He was 21. Legal, so he can get drinks. So we go for drinks, because I already dinner for that, because I'm like, I'm not going to go to fucking dinner with a random dude. I'm going to do drinks, because if I don't like the dude, I can just bail. So, I'm getting drinks with this guy. It's all cool. We're talking a lot, and, like, he lets me know, like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get there at, say 6. He's like, I'm gonna be running a little late. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. So he's gonna be running a little late. Nothing upsetting about that. So we sit there, we're talking, and, it's kind of weird, awkward talking, but it's okay. So then, normally, some dates never go into the habit of, like, sex or any of that stuff. So we're just trying to get to know each other, trying to talk, trying to take it slow. And then, unfortunately, I was really horny, so I kind of fucked that up. So until like, something's happened after that. And after that, I did see the guy maybe once or twice after that. But then actually that was the last time I was meant to, see that guy. Because I just really was not that interested in this guy. I was like, you know what, bro, I don't fucking like you. But the thing about this guy was I was trying to get, like, a vibe out of him. But I just think it was so awkward because this guy literally reminded me of my ex from my first ever ex. But it was so weird because I was like, well, fucking Christ. So that was ended so bad. So Hinge has terribly failed me, and I trust Hinge with my entire heart, because Hinge actually brought. So, I met my first real boyfriend off on Hinge. So shout out to the guy, such an amazing guy, so sweet, so kind, you know. So Hinge brought me my first ever kind, cute, loving, sweet boyfriend. So so that was the first time I ever used Hinge. But now Hinge has failed me because Hinge just gives me these really fucked up matched people. So I'm like, oh, fucking awesome. And now let's talk about like blind dates. So like blind dates are kind of interesting. Would I ever do them again? Maybe I might just fucking do it because I really don't give a shit. So I'll just do it. I will have zero shame in it. So I do a blind date. So with this guy. So my funny story. This is a true story. My friend and I, so we got dumped. So she was talking to this guy, and she literally texted me. She's like, "Hey, are you free tonight?" I'm like, yeah, I am free tonight. What's up?" And she literally texts me. She's like, "Hey, so I'm going out with this guy," and I'm like, "Okay." And then she's like, "But he's bringing a friend, so I need to bring a friend too." I'm like, "Okay, so me, right?" She's like, "Yeah, you're my friend." I'm like, "Okay, wow, the love." So I go out to this thing. It's golfing. So it's really fun. So we go out. We're there. We're getting, we get the clubs and everything. We get some drinks from the bar. Not the bar, but like literally we get some drinks. Like I think it was like not, it was alcoholic, but it was like just beer. So beer does not buzz everyone as well. I think it was just me. So we got that. So we're like literally golfing. So there's two sides. So the guy she set me up with, we're on the other side, and the guy she's originally going off is on the other side. So we're like golfing, and I'm like, and then I'm just like having fun. I'm chilling, nothing personal. And then he's like, "Do you want to go for a walk?" Great. So things happen on the day, but it's just not really that interesting. So at that point, we finish, swing all the balls. So eventually we have a empty ass bucket. So you bring down the bucket to the area. I can't I don't remember much. Like, I think, I do remember, but like you bring it down to this area and you're good. And then we all were like, okay, let's go get some food. It's like around 9:30, and it's a fucking Wednesday. It's a Wednesday night. So we're going, so they put that, so my friend and the other guy are going to go put something down. And at that point, I'm sitting outside. So me and the other guy just sat there for a couple minutes, like, waiting for them. We were talking about our whole life. We were talking about ourselves, like, getting to know each other on a different level. Not, like, too emotional, but, like, something like that. And then the guy proceeds to ask me, like, "Hey, are you free Friday night?" And I was like, I'm free Friday night. So then he's like, "So Friday night's a plan?" I'm like, "Yeah, Friday night's a plan. I'll, like, call you later with details. I'll figure it out." So after that, it's great. So then my friend comes. So we Ubered there because both of our cars were fucked. So I'm also brown, so my car cannot be seen there. I left my car at home. So we both booked these Ubers. So we both book an Uber. It's there, and we're like, we'll meet you guys at the place, because I don't want to get in a guy's car after the first day, because these guys kind of seem sketchy. These first time seeing them, like, they seem a little sketchy. I'm not taking that fucking risk today. So we get in the Uber, we get to the place, we're ordering food, and the guy already pays mysteriously. So I was like, my friend was in the bathroom, because she was in the bathroom. So I was like, okay, great. She's like, you want to wait for me to order? I'm like, yeah, I'll wait. So she comes back out, we order, and then the guy already paid for the food. It's great. So we're sitting, we're eating, we're all talking to each other. And this guy, he comfortably like wraps his arm around me, but like I'm not upset by it, but I'm not uncomfortable by it either. So it's like I'm not uncomfortable, but I'm okay with it. It's so weird, and I was like, that's fine. So then at the end of the night, eventually I head home. So I book an Uber from me and my friend. It's like a two-stop Uber, two-stop book. You can book an Uber for two stops. So I book it for like the first stop being my house because it's pretty close to my house. And then the second one for her house because she does not live that far from me, but a decent like 20 minutes away. So I booked that second one, the second stop for her, and then we leave. So, when I get home, I get text from the guy. He called me. He's like, oh, I just want to make sure you got home. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then I was like, okay, great. So then what I did that day was that night, I was really impulsive. And I don't normally I'm never this impulsive. So I text him. I'm like, hey. I'm like, hey, so do you want to get dinner with me Friday night? Because I said maybe. And, he's like, just let me know if you want to. So I said, yeah, I'd love to. So then I let this guy know that I'd love to go out with him for dinner Friday night. And I get ghosted again. I'm like, oh, fucking great. And the guy was really nice. But, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But it's really funny. It did not hurt that much. But it was like, oh, great. And then after that time being, those two other dates went by. Those three other guys. This other guy, I have like 3 guys on Tinder that decided on Tinder or Hinge, I don't remember. They decided to DM me and they're like, "Oh my god, you're so cool." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know I'm fucking cool." And then 3 other guys I talked to on these dating apps are much more different than you think because it's like I guess it's kind of strange because really like after I got stood up, I never went out. But then a couple days later, I get a DM from this guy. Not a DM. On Tinder. I match with this guy on Tinder. So, on Tinder, sometimes I'm very unaware of who I match with. Like, girls and guys related, I'm very unaware. So, I match with this guy on Tinder, and we're talking, and he's like, I'd love to meet your coffee, and we have the same similarities, truth be told. So, it's like, yeah, that's cool. So, I decided to meet up with this guy for coffee, and it's so nice because, actually, funny story. 2 days ago, I broke up. I didn't break up, but like I stopped talking to the other guy who was kind of a creepo that reminded me of one of my first ever ex-boyfriends when I was in high school. So that was one of those things. So the second guy, he's really nice. We're still talking. Like at that point, we were still talking. Like, and I was like, okay, you're really interesting. Like, I don't see anything bad or red flags in you. Because I'm, like, looking for red flags with fucking binoculars, bitch. Because I cannot have to deal with another red flag person. I really fucking can't. I don't see any red flags. But still, it's, like, on the questionable approach of online dating. So, right now, I'm still talking with this guy. Because sometimes with dating, you'll never really know what you'll get. And it's just interesting. It's very, very highly interesting. So tip number 1, ladies, if a guy does seem really nice at the first time you see all green flags, it may not always be a green flag. So that was one of those. So that one was okay. So not so bad, but just didn't work out for either one of us, I guess. The second one is gonna be the funniest one of all. So I do match with some girls on Tinder and guys on Tinder, but sometimes they don't really respond back to mine. It's great, and it's freaking interesting. So I matched this guy named Anthony. And I look at his profile, thinking that he looked really fucking familiar, but in the sense of familiarity, like he looked familiar. So what he tells me is like, hey, hi, how are you? And he's like, you go to Delphi, right? I'm like, yeah, I fucking go to Delphi. I was like, yeah, I'll go to Delphi. And this dude's like, yeah, he's like, I've seen you around. I'm like, by who? They're like last year, last semester. I'm a sophomore. My fall semester, I was friends with his ex. And I was like, he's like, yeah, you're cute and all, but this isn't going to work out. I was like, yep, that's kind of awkward. Because I wasn't really interested in the guy, and I really hope that he cut off. See, I don't want to be known as a villain for being like, hey, I'm not interested in you, but I also don't want to string you along. Because I don't want to be like, hey, I'm not interested in you, string you along, and just be like, pain. No, I don't want to do that. So it was really funny. So, I mean, let's be honest, dating in college life is really weird. Hi. It's really fucking weird because you're just like, holy shit. The green flags and the amount of red flags you can see in a human being are very, hypothetically speaking, like, I had this dude ask me on a date to his car where he could just want to fucking finger me. I'm like, bitch. And this guy looked the mustiest, dustiest, crustiest ass bitch out there. So I think there's one perk in my college life that I've never been with a shitty guy at all. I was with a really good guy in college, so I've never been with a shitty guy. But like, what a lesson of the story: not all guys are good guys, because it's really funny on that sense of thing where you talk to guys dating. And I still haven't got any girls, so I'm very openly bisexual on my podcast. I'm bi and gay. I'm bi slash bisexual slash gay, like slash lesbian, but I'm still in the exploring phase of my life, and that's what college is for. You explore shit. But it's really funny because the dating apps have not made it any easier for me to realize who I am. But it just made me realize how much I don't have an interest in men. I've like I don't have any interest in men. Like I see a man flirt with me, that's not interesting at all. Like the one good thing about men I find interesting is sex. Like you can have sex with a guy and they can give you sex and that's good. Like I'll just take the sex. I don't give a shit about the personal effects and personal relations and all that shit. Like I don't give a real shit about that. I absolutely fucking don't. And I really don't. Like I am not interested in the relationship part. Like, hey, you're a dude. I'm not like hating on the guy, but I'm not interested in you being like lovey-dovey or lovey or like shit like that. You're not a girl, and I am into girls very much. But it's like I'm just not validly interested in you like that. And I feel like a fuck up for that, but, truth be told, dating in college, you never really know what you want. But also the fact that dating in college has made me realize that I want to be with someone who's willing to, like, be there, but then be okay with me wanting to go after my dreams, catch my dreams, and then have them stay, like, or not, like, stay-at-home dad type of shit. Like, stay home, they're like, it's like, yeah, you stay-home dads, and then how, like, they work, and the wife works. Like, not like that shit, but kind of like that shit, because I just want to know that they're going to be there instead of being upset with me because I'm not spending as much time or I'm doing that. I feel like that's one of the main things I've appeared from this of college life so far with messing around and dating, and I just like catching my dreams is so hard because I'll still have the romantic interest, but I don't want any guy to be like, "Oh, I'm not interested in you." So I mean, that's kind of one of those things. But yeah, that is the end of today's episode. I hope you guys liked it. I went a little like this episode be a little longer, but it's really funny. Cause the dating app world is really funny, but lesson number one, after what I've learned from this is I hate Hinge. Hinge has disappointed me so much, and Hinge never disappoints me, and they disappointed me today. They've disappointed me now, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give Hinge 2 reviews. No, I won't. But it's just disappointing. So disappointing. Maybe when I met maybe at some point there were nice guys out there, but there aren't. Not on Hinge. So Hinge disappointed me. But lesson number one of the dating world: don't be surprised of the people you hear about or see about, because gets crazy enough. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope to see you guys after the new year, because that's when the next time I will be posting my next podcast. But I hope you guys have happy holidays, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy every holiday you celebrate. And I will see you guys next time. And let me know if there's any kind of topics you guys want to know about, you guys want me to talk about. And yeah, have a good day, guys.